It is a long flight high over the thick jungle, following the river. For the first time, he will glimpse the waterfall as it cascades thousands of feet into the jungle below. It is here, near the top of the mesa, that he will string his wire across the face of the cliff. Dropped off at the jungle airstrip, he packs his equipment into a dugout canoe. It will take him 10 days to reach the nearest point to the mesa. The jungle surrounds him. As the day advances, the temperature and humidity climb, a reminder that he is within a few degrees of the equator. He forces his way ever deeper into the thick undergrowth. Day after day, he follows the river. Finally, around a bend, he sees the mesa rising from the jungle, its face punctuated with the silver thread of the waterfall. Unable to travel further on the river, he must walk the rest of the way to the base of the mesa. As he progresses, the trail winds higher, and the jungle is slowly left behind. Hiking cross-country, he soon reaches a broad plain stretching for many miles. In the distance, he sees a group of palm-covered huts and heads in that direction.
Les Ayantepui. Por favor, un poco de agua?
Miles from their nearest neighbors, an Indian tribe ekes out a meager existence on these desolate highlands. Here, Menon receives water and a dinner consisting mainly of rice, beans, and tortillas. Still many miles from his destination, he pushes on. He compares the landscape to his tiny village in France, is awed by the grandeur and scope of this beautiful land, with its broad upland prairies dominated by towering mesas pushing upwards to the clouds. Before reaching his goal, he still must overcome many obstacles. Here, a wide river blocks his path. Alone, he steps out into the cold current and attempts to reach the other side. Safely across, he meets a small group of men sifting gravel in large pans like gold miners of old. They are working in an area that was once the riverbed. Here, there is a thick vein of gravel holding quartz crystals. Using a small hydraulic pump, they loosen the gravel and then sift it with their pans looking for the tiny quartz.
Rojas, ¿cómo se llama? Ah, brillante. Brillante. Brillante, sí. ¿De dónde vienes?
D'où je viens?
France.
Francia.
Ah,
¿Conoces Francia?
sí conozco Francia.
Returning to the riverbank, he continues his journey. Nearing the base of the cliff, he plunges again into the thick jungle that surrounds the mesa. Here, the trail is overgrown with thick brush, vines, and thorn bushes, so he must chop his way through, being careful not to be cut by the sharp thorns. For the lone traveler who has spent his entire life in the valleys of the French Alps, this is a land of mystery, with many surprises waiting along each step of the route. Finally, he hears the sound of the fall as it thunders 3,000 feet down the face of the mesa. Now a new phase of his journey begins. He must climb the steep cliffs before nightfall. Already tired from his long hike, he contemplates the difficulty of this task. Slowly, he follows the exposed rock face along the side of the waterfall. As the sun moves gradually to the west, he works his way ever higher. To be caught along the side of the cliff in the dark would leave him in a very dangerous position. At the top, on the broad plateau, he builds a small fire to dry his clothes and to warm his sore feet. It has been a long, hard day, and he must still eat and put up his sleeping hammock, insect net, and a plastic cover to ward off an overnight rain. He pitches his camp about 500 feet from the edge of the cliff to protect against the fierce winds that buffet the cliff face. Tomorrow he will install his wire and other equipment for his lonely walk in space. Neatly stored in his backpack, Menon has brought with him the tools and hardware needed for his daring feat. Cutting slim poles from the jungle, he prepares his balance beam.
Le plus gros problème, c'est
The biggest problem is the approach from 150 meters from the bottom of the canyon to the place where I'm going to attach my cable. There is a progression of obstacles that I must pass to get to the waterfall. As he moves from his base camp, he leaves chalk marks on the rocks to indicate the direction back to his camp. He is concerned that if a heavy cloud cover settles, it may obscure his route, and he could be lost on the mesa at night. So about every 6 meters, he marks an arrow to help him find his way back. The top of the mesa is a jumble of huge boulders and thick underbrush. The most direct route to the waterfall is by following the narrow canyon that cuts across the mesa. It's a difficult route, and without his chalk marks, he would surely become lost in this barren landscape. It is a hostile land, but also a land filled with beauty. A profusion of extraordinary tropical vegetation carpets the rocky floor. Menon finds a great variety of unique carnivorous plants and other tropical species. He is a man lost in his personal dream of paradise and is overwhelmed by the amazing colors and shapes of plants and insects, most of which he has never seen. Reaching the site, Menon surveys the face of the cliff, follows it across the waterfall, and determines the belaying or attachment point on the other side. It is here that he will stretch his steel wire. The support wire, soaked with oil to keep it from rusting in high humidity, must be covered with sawdust to make it less slippery when he handles it. Next, he encircles a great stone with a short length of cable to form a sling, which he will securely fasten with clamps. This will anchor one end of his tightrope. To pull the wire across the void, he throws a lightweight nylon line to a rocky outcrop on the other side. He is constantly aware that the small stream flowing across the plateau suddenly ends here and begins its long fall into the valley below. It is here that he plans to walk on his wire. But first, he must cross the stream to draw the wire to the other side. This is nearly as dangerous as his planned exploit. Venturing along the cliff face, he clears small brush that could snag the wire when it is pulled across the 300-foot space between the attachment points. To tighten the wire, he uses a cable winch, which, when attached to his wire, will slowly draw it tight. One end of the cable winch is attached to the anchoring sling wrapped around the boulder. The tight wire is then fed into the winch and slowly pulled to the proper degree of tightness for him to walk on. It has taken him 2 days to attach the wire. Tomorrow, with balance pole in hand, he will step out into space. Awake at sunrise, Michel wishes to attempt his tightrope walk as early in the morning as possible, while the air is still and the winds are calm. As the day progresses, the valley floor, heated by the sun, generates strong winds that could topple him from the wire. Alone, he prepares himself for his extraordinary feat, to cross a chasm 3,000 feet above the valley floor with no net or other support.